Sessions at sunrise, a way to begin every morning. Most mornings, I'm up to see the sun. I'm used to thinking and feeling in words. Living in words, my world is living and the world is living me. I wonder what will animate me today or what will go away. I find myself in the realm of a hope dealer. I have no suit to put on, just learning to be me, not fancy, just a lot clearer. Am I doing all I can to preserve great leaders? Am I doing all I can to bring great parents to children and great leaders to organizations? I ask the emerging sunrise to release me from shunning the mystery. The world does not have to be beautiful to work, but it is. So let's meet it where it is, pay close attention to things, and see possibility. Welcome to Sessions at Sunrise. This is John Davidson, and I appreciate your attendance, your presence. I appreciate you giving a generous listening to this podcast, Sessions at Sunrise. It's amazing to get to this actual version of the podcast. I started podcasting in 2007. That was almost 150 podcasts ago, and I started with a show that was parallel to my coaching engagements called No Hype Allowed. And so this has evolved into radical creativity. I did 25 of those shows, and then I went into what I call Mach Zero. And the consistent theme that seemed to emerge as I created more podcasts, living into the time that we're in, it just seemed to be more appropriate. It seemed to be more important to help the listener, the business owner, business leader, the individual you are, just become a lot more alive. And so being able to kind of pull it all together, I think we're struck today with an enormous amount of complexity in our lives. And one of the things that we have to remember is that we can be happy by standing in the world no matter what we get. That our creative process is not organized by what we're discontent with, but rather we're contented creators. I love this idea. And I just finished a book around this called Stay Longer and Listen Deeper. Now, the original name of the book was supposed to be The Sales Shaman, because I took inspiration in coaching high commission salespeople in how they came at the sale from a radically different place than the way the marketplace thinks they do. I mean, we have this stereotypical way that we see salespeople, and we have it out for them. I mean, we label them, we categorize them, and we deem them to be insincere in general. So we have our guard up when we buy products and services. We think that it's all about takers rather than givers. And that's the furthest from the truth, is that in hundreds of coaching cases, I can certify the basic goodness in a human being when it comes to commerce and being transactional and being involved in the interior nature, the interior world of the salesperson, the quality of heart, the quality of thinking, their character, their ethos. I love knowing that the basic fundamental way that they come into aliveness, where I always ask them where they're the most happiest as a human being, is when they're selling. And then I would say, well, selling. Well, why selling? And they say, because I'm listening. I'm being where the other person is. I'm helping them understand their real needs. I'm helping. And then I would say, well, what's help? And they would say, well, help, what they taught me is giving someone something that they can't do for themselves. And there's a big difference between helping and helpful helping. And so helpful help is a process of wanting sincere welfare, sincere enrichment for the other human being. So I began to see a different way of influencing, not by controlling others, but by respecting others. And I was taught this through the process of coaching. I was the student. It's one of the neat things about having a coaching career, creating a coaching career, is that the learning process is totally accelerated, and that every coaching client, every engagement is essentially a curriculum, a student. I am of that curriculum, right? Every individual is authentic. They bring together a whole different set of thinking, mindsets, gifts, approaches, history, experiences, and it makes it so exciting. I'm going on my 20th year in coaching top leaders and entrepreneurs in small and large businesses. So I bring through that process 20 years of wisdom. And wisdom is something that I feel deeply, deeply, deeply it's important to share with you. I think wisdom is kind of the installment that we don't have a choice as to whether we should share. It's just an urge that we have to pour out, because if we don't make space for something new. So that doesn't mean that I'm imparting wisdom just to make space in myself, but it is an important component. It is an important particle of what it means to share wisdom with you. And see, over those years, I've developed such a reverence for reflection. It's the only antidote to changing your history, is to reflect. And yet we're all so busy being busy that we're just too busy being busy to do what could make us a lot less busy. Yeah, we're in this incessantly frenetic way of operating where we're in this human doing existence rather than in the being. And so we're operating, sort of our software operation system is way too overloaded. We have too many things coming at us. And we can't get to all the different things that matter to us. And so, even the thought of having a life plan or the thought of creating something new, a lot of us are feeling tethered to so many things that are cluttered up in our life. How do we even make space for what matters to us? So we fatalize it, right? And so we just we can't beat them, so we'll join them. So rather than be grown-ups creating our dreams, we're given-ups. And yet a lot of us don't know it. We're just reacting and responding like a man in a labyrinth to whatever comes at us in the circumstances. And then we work on our attitude and we say, well, I need to have a better attitude. Look, tell a mother who's raising 3 children to have a better attitude. You'll get punched. Why have a positive attitude? You don't need to have a positive attitude. And I think this piece of wisdom is so important, probably the most critical, is it's about being honest and telling yourself the truth. It's about creating what matters, even when you don't have the ability to have what matters. Still knowing what matters is an essential thing because you're being true to yourself. And so I like to take a lot of walks. I like to take a lot of kind of journeys into nature. And I've developed a really important aspect of my life, which is this relationship with nature. And one of the beauties of this, one of the neat takeaways from being out in nature, is that it's a great communicator. When I go out in nature, I go to the ocean or I go to the desert, my 2 favorite places in the world. I love to wander in the Sonoran Desert or go out in the Sea of Cortez, for example, and to enjoy those nuances. And so there's all sorts of communication that comes from there. And one of the most recent insights that I got that kind of ties into the topic I'm talking about is finding some level of integrity. In other words, finding the ability to stand strong in our life despite the changing conditions. To be able to take a stance almost as if our soul was the backdrop, was the placeholder from which everything else is observable, is witnessed. I think at some level we kind of forget what adds meaning in our life and what we're doing service to in terms of our vision and what really matters to us and our fundamental values and aspirations. So we misdirect our choices. And rather than organize our choices by what really fundamentally matters, we get caught in the rules, the socialization, the shoulds, the ought tos, the woulds. And it's very superficial. And we can't seem to quench our thirst on the material acquisitions either. Rather, we really want a fulfilling life, but we're living an impressive lifestyle. And so rather than creating what really matters to us, we live a life of consensus. We live a life of selling our soul to the things that we think other people think, or we are what we own, or we are what we do. So one of the things that I often see clients in transition is they're kind of moving out of the role back into soul. So we'll find the doctor that's reawakening the real cause for medicine, the real healing quality of wanting really to wish someone well, or the business person that's sort of gotten caught in all of the wonderful profits, which is great, but then they get into this sort of time after money or life after money moment where just the money doesn't really do it. It's there, it's going, but there's just more. There's something more that they're hungering for. And it's not that kind of ambition anymore. It's something that just wants to make things simple, and an inner voice that just wants to get to the qualities that matter because of the brevity of life. So one of the wanderings that I had recently was this encounter with a saguaro cactus. And if you think about this cactus, you might think of a silhouette on a painted sky. In fact, that's what I called the poem that I started to write as I encountered this cactus when I took a walk in the Sonoran Desert. And there it was with these three prongs to the sky, almost as if the arms that reached up to the sun were like the voltage of a plug that you put in the wall. So this poem, I love poems because you can't refuse a poem. Poems are words that you can't refuse. And I ask you to see where this reflection might have a collision in your life, where this reflection on my session at sunrise the following day seemed to make a point about integrity, is how long we can stand in the conditions that come and go of life, the goods, the bads, and the uglies, and still remain at some level a learner, to make life our teacher, and to still be intentional despite all these reactionary hooks and invitations. Saguaro on a painted sky. Standing between light and dark, voltage arms reach upward to the heavens. Yes, and thank you. Imbue your courageous presence in my breath of life. Stand still and raise arms high. The world is right here. As if your silhouette alerts my meeting the unfamiliar directly. Looking away, I know you are always there. Your shadow casts upon the tempo of time. To mine, you have no rules or wreckage. To the truth of what there is not yet to know. You begin and you end at the top of the head, as if to hold the remembrance of a delicate forever. No sun refuses you if you keep on turning toward the light. Nothing is made for itself and of itself. Wisdom pours into those who turn toward the mystery. Conserve it all, and take no more. The world is meant to be a well for it. Take what you need, but watch over the other, for today will be yours to outlast. Keeper of the soul and sundial of skytime, the saguaro, who is to die anyway, is forever standing, as if to stay in the cross-current for life to unfold. Just allay your perfections to the mighty one. It is never to be what the past said. Only roots serve you now in the plays of life. Staying here is the alphabet of your image. Let the earth move as it does. Revelation will continue to the diligent one, and your flowers come quickly to die back into life, as if to reduce nothing and conserve love. Welcome all like sweet honey pouring out. Saguaro on a painted sky. There are many themes that are in this piece about the stance that we hold in life, and this stance of strength, the stance of conviction, the stance of living forward into the mystery, and to hold steady into the ambiguities of our current reality. You can't predict the future, but you can create one. And therefore, there is a quality of conserving something as you move through time. Conserving legitimacy, conserving love. This is what the teacher does to help the students. Conserving legitimacy, conserving your wisdom, conserving. As we move through the moments, we conserve something. Something is conserved. What are we conserving? Is the cactus. It takes what it needs. It holds the moisture. It's so efficient in this. It does not borrow or bother from the ecosphere. It just takes what it needs. Its own harvest. It takes what it needs. Like ourselves, we can learn to live together in a way that we can be helpers. We can be generous. But at the same time, we can enjoy and be in service to something greater than ourselves. Thank you.